Civilization 7 has been out for just one day in advanced access, and you've all overwhelmed me with the amount of questions you have about the game and the amount of tutorial videos you'd like me to make. I want to start my Civ 7 tutorial video journey with a brief overview of all of the core game mechanics. This video is going to do a brief overview of resources, city and town growth, legacy paths, and I hope what it does is make you more comfortable in your Civ games so you feel less tempted to run into the Discord and be like, what's going on? What is happening? This is not meant to be a deep dive into each of these aspects of the game, just enough to get you started and feeling comfortable. All of our deep dives will follow when the game releases on February 11th, but I want all you advanced access folks to make sure you know what's going on. If you would like to watch me play Civilization though, and not just do tutorial videos, check out the links in the description below. I got a Twitch stream, I stream live here on YouTube, and we also have our channel VB Plays where I post videos of all of my Civ 7 Let's Plays. The first mechanic in Civilization 7 I would like to introduce you to are the legacy paths, and they are found in the top left. As you're probably aware by now, every game of Civilization is split into 3 ages. The Antiquity Age, where we are right now, is the first age. After we complete this age, we'll move on to the Exploration Age, and then the Modern Age will follow that to close out our game of Civilization 7. Each age is going to have 4 kind of quests you can embark on to build up your empire that will give you bonuses in the following age. There will always be a culture quest, a military quest, a science quest, and an economic quest. Now, as you can see, you can make progress on each of these quests at the same time. You don't need to pick one or the other, although having a focus can unlock more powerful bonuses in that category in the next age. The actual quest you need to complete is right here on the left. Simply house 7 world wonders. How you complete that quest if you're new to Civ or need some instructions on a quest-by-quest basis are found right here. It tells you the next step, it gives you some options, it tells you on a little bar right here how you're doing, which is awesome. If you fully complete the quest, in this case having 7 world wonders for the culture quest, you will unlock the ability to select a golden age policy in the next age. The game will give you progress along the way though, so it's not all or nothing. You don't need to make it all the way down. These points you'll accumulate will be spendable in the next age. Again, these bonuses are not happening right now, they're happening later. And it'll give you progress right here. So if you have 7 world wonders to get the golden age, you only need 1, 2 to unlock these 2 points to spend at the age transition. 2 more will give you another point to spend at the age transition, so on and so forth. So even if you can only make it part way down each path, you are still unlocking a powerful benefit for your empire in the following age. The paths are always the same though. I'm not going to go through all 4 for all 3 ages. That would be 12 and this video would take forever. But make sure you read what the overall objective is, and then you can follow the instructions here to get part way through. Please remember that these are happening dynamically. You do not have to just go down 1. If you don't want to display 10 codices, but you want to display 4 or 5 to get the first couple of bonuses, do that. Then build 7 world wonders to finish off this golden age here, and then maybe assign some resources at the end to pick up this economic point. If you take a look in the top left here, this is the age progress. If you want to know when an age is going to end, it ends when this hits 100%. A standard age of Civilization 7 takes 200 turns. You can see it will end at 200 age progress, and every turn you play the game will add 1 to that progress. So if we need 200, we know we've got 108 points because we've played 108 turns, so that's slightly more than 50%. The extra percentage here are gained by completing these tasks in the legacy path. You'll see right here at this first cultural legacy point that's building 1, 2 wonders. The first Civ to build 2 wonders is going to add 5 to that age progress for 200. And so because we hit this here, we added 5 to the age progress. If you are the second or third person to hit this goal, you will still get these points to spend in the next era, that's fine, but only the first person actually adds the age progress to the bar. The other ways to add age progress to the bar if you are trying to push the age forward and get to the end. If you get to the end of the technology and civic trees, you can use the future tech project, which will add 10 points to the age progress, or the civics mastery project here, the future civic one, that will add 10 age progress to the age as well. Once you hit 200, this is going to say 100% and will kind of boost you and everyone else into the exploration age. The next mechanic people are struggling with a little bit that I want to introduce to you are the concept of cities and towns, which is brand new for Civilization 7. Your first settler is the only one that's going to settle a city. This is traditional in Civ. So Roma, our capital, was settled by our founder unit, our first one. Every settler we've built since then, Ostia, Neapolis, Capua, have all started as towns. If you just use a settler and settle a town and you're wondering why it's not acting like a city, it's because it's distinctly not a city. If we take a look at Roma here, we have a city typical to civilization. We can use our production yield to build things, we can use our gold to purchase things. If we take a look at the towns though, we have a few different options. First, we have a town focus. What on earth is that? And you'll notice we can't actually produce anything with the town. We can only use gold to purchase things. Now, these towns do not need to stay towns forever. If you want more cities, you will need to upgrade your towns. You can do that by converting them to a city in the bottom left for gold. The gold cost of towns will fluctuate the longer your town has been in the game. I found the cheaper it costs to upgrade, but if you want more cities, you will need to upgrade towns to acquire them. You might be asking yourself now, though, well, VanBradley, it sure sounds like I would rather just have cities. What are towns even doing for me? Why would I want to purposely keep them in kind of this middle transition step here? Well, towns are actually very powerful, and they are designed to give powerful bonuses to the cities they're connected to. Playing Civilization 7 so far, I found my ideal ratio to actually be one city to one town. You want your big, powerful cities doing a lot of the production, getting a lot of the buildings for your empire, but you certainly want your towns contributing. The first kind of high-level thing a town does is contributes a lot of gold to your empire. If we take a look at Capua here, we will see we have 11 production. A lot of the production that your towns generate goes straight into the gold for your empire. That gold can then be used to upgrade the towns by spending it, like so. It can also be used, though, to upgrade your cities, where instead of just producing everything, it will give you the funds available to purchase units if you're in a war, to purchase buildings as you unlock them. So simply just the amount of production your towns generate will be converted to gold, since they can't produce anything themselves, and that will allow you to make those purchases all over the map to respond to the game. The next thing towns are going to do is produce food. Now, this is where it gets really crazy. If we take a look at Neapolis right now, this is a city. So if I go into the city menu and I click this button here, it will tell me where I'm getting my food from. I'm generating 19.6 food, and I'm getting all of that food from the city itself. I'm not receiving any food from towns. In Capua and in every town, it's going to start as a growing town. All of the food this town generates will be used to grow itself and grow its population. Once its population has grown to 7 and you've been able to work a couple of tiles, which we'll talk about in a moment, you will be able to choose a town focus. Once you choose a town focus, your town is going to start contributing more to the empire and less to itself. Each town in each age is going to have a different selection of focuses. Some of them will be consistent. You'll always be able to choose farming town or mining town. Some of them are unique to the age. In the exploration age, there's a religious focused town option because there's religion in that age. But your options here right now are the ones that I'm showing you. Regardless of which specialization you choose for this town, it will begin sending some of its food to a city. We'll show that off in a moment. Which town specialization you want to go with is dependent on the town. If you have a lot of farms, pastures, plantations, and fishing boats, you might want to generate that +1 extra food. If you have a lot of production, camps, woodcutters, clay pits, mines, quarries, etc., you might want to add that +1 production to all of those. Once you select the most appropriate town focus for you, so I recommend finding what the town is good at. If your town has a lot of quarters, if it's got a lot of fishing boats, like find the thing your town is doing best. Farming town and mining town are the easiest to navigate, so if you only select those two to start, that is totally fine. Once you make your selection, though, you will only be able to choose between the selected focus and growing town. So you have to be very committed. Once you select an option here, you can't select between all of them again. You can only switch between growing town and the one you've selected. Let's use our imagination and pretend for a second that there's a giant war happening here. The AI is descending upon Capua, and we need to defend ourselves. So maybe I want to choose Fort Town. It's going to heal all our units a little bit easier, and it has extra health to walls. So I really want to hunker down and defend. So I select Fort Town, a definite non-food focus. We are focused on fortifications and war. You'll see, though, that Capua is now going to start sending some of its food to Neapolis because that is the nearest connected city. I believe it's the case that if multiple nearby cities are connected, it will split them up evenly amongst them. But if we go to Neapolis now, you'll see we are gaining 19.3 from Neapolis, but we're also gaining 13.7 from Capua. So even by selecting a fortification focus, our food is being sent to Neapolis. So once you select a focus, your town is now contributing to your city by, nearly doubling its food production. If you're wondering when you should build towns to cities, that's probably a little bit of a different tutorial. However, a lot of these buildings that you unlock in the tech tree can only be built in cities. So if you have places like Capua that have a lot of room, they have a lot of land, they have a lot of space to kind of grow for a city, Capua is likely going to end up being a city at some point. There are some smaller towns though. Let's say I sell the town right in here. There's not a lot of tiles. I can get 5 or 6 fishing boats. It's going to generate a lot of food and send that food to a nearby city. That might be a good candidate for a town. I'm still learning. You're still learning. There's a lot of hit and miss here, but I now hope that you at least know what a town is doing for your empire and why you might want to keep a town. And again, I recommend a 1-to-1 ratio of cities to towns. Now that we've talked about towns and cities, we can talk about how they grow and how you work the tiles, because it's very different than previous Civilization game. Every time a town or city grows, it accumulates enough food to add a population. You will be prompted to grow the town or the city. In this case, we'll take a look at towns. When you grow a town, all the tiles you can grow into will be highlighted green. I've already grown onto all the resources, but if you go onto a resource, you will accumulate that resource for your town or for your empire. We'll talk about resources in a moment. So we've already grown onto all these tiles. When you grow onto a tile, it is going to place an improvement. So it'll put a farm right here. It'll put a woodcutter right here. You can see over here we've already put down a farm and a woodcutter. The yields on this tile are the yields you are going to get. So it's not going to add any yields. This tile has 3 production, 2 happiness that's currently not being worked by the town. If I grow onto that tile, we'll get the woodcutter to accumulate those yields. Let's say I want this farm right here. I've chosen a growth specialization with the farms. I've added food to all my farms. So I want to place this down. I could select this. When you purchase a building in a town, let's say you purchase this stone cutter, it's going to give +1 production on all mines and quarries. So what it's going to do if I purchase it, it'll put +1 production on all existing mines and quarries if I already have them. You'll see I have a quarry right here. So this has base 3 production. So 3 production. It'll give me an extra 1 because of this quarry. So if I buy this stone cutter, we'll put it there. I get that extra production now. You'll see it's also added the production to another tile where I could have a mine, thus making sure you always know what you're getting when you grow your town. So now if I grew onto this mine, I would get 3 production. Earlier it said 2. This also works in reverse. If I grow onto this tile and buy the stone cutter later, it will still add the production. You saw this with the quarry. But basically what I want to show you is that the yields that it shows on top of the tile are the yields you are acquiring when you put the improvement down. The improvement itself is not improving the tile and adding yields. It's just accumulating the yields that are already there. Later on in the game, you might be growing a city, and cities have more options than towns a lot of the time. You can still grow onto resources, you can still add improvements, right? So you can still go in and add a farm or a fishing boat or a woodcutter, which we just saw in the town with the farms and mines and woodcutters, etc. If you have buildings in cities, though, as you're getting buildings, those buildings will allow you to put specialists inside them. I don't have time to explain all the mechanics now, just that if you use your kind of population growth on a specialist, you will gain the top yields here. So we're going to gain 2 food, 1 production, 2 science, and 2 culture. And you're going to lose 2 food and 2 happiness. I could go into everything that affects these numbers. Just know the standard calculation starts at 2 science, 2 culture, at the cost of 2 food, 2 happiness. So we can see here we have 124 food and 6 happiness. If we want to spend 2 of each to get 2 science and 2 culture, that would be great. The additional yields, this extra production, this 2 food, 1 production, this gold and this production are a matter of the buildings you've put in there, some of the adjacency bonuses, etc. But just know that's another way you can grow your city in a city by using them as specialists instead of a town where you can only use them for the rural improvements. I've advanced the game a little bit now to show off some of the city mechanics. I will not be able to do an in-depth tutorial on all of these. I just want to make sure you understand what they mean. If you take a look at some of your building options, you will see that they are ageless. This means they survive throughout the ages. So once you place them down on a tile, they are on that tile forever. They cannot be removed. They are ageless. They will stay there throughout the game. So you'll see here in Neapolis, I have a bunch of ageless options, right? So they're going to stay throughout the game and do whatever it says they're going to do. This temple, though, is not ageless. So if I place this temple down, the base yield, which you can see here, is 4 happiness. That will stay even if we move to the next age. So the building's not going to disappear, but what I will lose is the adjacency. So just know that in this age right now, if I place this down, it's going to give me 6 happiness. When we move on to the next age, though, that additional happiness will be gone, and it'll only be giving me the base yield of 4 happiness. What this allows for is the concept of overbuilding. So remember, you cannot overbuild. You cannot overbuild an ageless building. They are there forever. They cannot be built on top of. But let's take a look at this tile. I have a library on this tile. I'm building a pavilion, but I have a library over there. That library was built in the Antiquity Age. So if we go to our Civilopedia and we search up the library, you will see that it has a +2 science base, and it's an Antiquity Age science building. So we know because it's an older building from a different age, we are getting +2 science from that building, but we've lost all the additional science it might have been giving us. So it's currently giving us +2 science. If I want to build this menagerie, I don't want to keep expanding my city forever and ever and taking up all the tiles. However, would I keep the farms and the lumber mills and all the rest of the mines and whatever else goes there, my rural tile improvements? So what I can do is I can place it on a tile that has an older building and overbuild on top of it. It will get rid of the library and that 2 science, but it will put the menagerie there for 8 happiness. This will then happen again in the modern age, where in our modern age we might want to build over our menagerie and add something else, because the menagerie is going to give us less happiness. So that's the concept of overbuilding. It takes a lot to wrap your head around, but if you're wondering what the hell overbuilding is, why am I replacing some buildings with others? In each age, you can build on top of last age's buildings. If they're ageless, you cannot. So we can put this menagerie down over top of our library. Next question you might have is, VanBradley, did I not just see that you had 2 buildings on the same tile? Why, yes, you did. Let's talk about it. This is a good time to talk about the different kinds of tiles you can have in your cities and towns in Civilization 7. The first kind of tile is a rural tile. Those are the ones you are using with improvements, the farms, the mines, etc. When you grow your city, if you're putting down a tile improvement, it is a rural tile. Anything with buildings on it is an urban tile. So these are important distinctions. You have rural tiles and urban tiles. If we go to build in our city, I've cycled the game back a little bit for this example, but if we go to build in our city, let's say I want to put down a blacksmith. If I want to put it down on one of these light green tiles, it means nothing's there. We're not collecting anything from this tile. It's free to build on. I can convert this to an urban tile. So there's no buildings on it. It's not an urban tile. If I put this building down, it will become an urban tile. This means it can never be a rural tile again. There's no way to switch it back to a rural tile, so you got to make your choices wisely. Any new urban tile needs to be connected to another urban tile, right? So our city sprawl kind of starts from the middle and works outwards. You'll see I can't just place a building out on the far reaches of my city here. We got to build outwards. So we built an urban tile here, then one over here. Now I can connect over here, and that would allow me to build another urban tile on these 2 here. So we are going from the middle outwards with our urban tiles. These light green ones are empty. There's nothing there. You can just build on top of them. If the tile is yellow and you want to build on top of the rural tile, you can do that, but just know the yellow is indicating that you'll be removing something that currently exists. There's currently a woodcutter here. It's currently giving us something. So if we build on the yellow, that means we will lose that thing and put the building on it instead. If we build on the dark green, that means we are putting 2 buildings together. So it's still an urban tile, even with just 1 building, but adding 2 buildings makes it a quarter. So a quarter is any tile that has 2 different buildings on it. These buildings can be city buildings in cities just like this, where we have a bath and a blacksmith in this example, or they can even be in towns. You can see these 2 ageless kind of warehouse buildings here. These are the ones that are affecting the tile. So those are the warehouse buildings, the brickyard, the fishing quay. We looked at those earlier. Those warehouse buildings are the ones that add to the rural tile improvements. If we put these two on the same tile together, I guess a fishing key is a bad example because it's going in the water. But let's say I put a brickyard together. Oh, right here, I can put a brickyard on top of this saw pit and make a quarter in a town as well. So I don't need to just make a quarter in a city. You can also make a quarter in a town. If you are building quarters and you really want to make sure both buildings can go on the quarter, you want to make sure you're not building them anywhere there's an ageless building, because that ageless building can never be removed. Right now we are playing as Catherine of the Spanish civilization. If I go here, you'll see we have two unique buildings, and if we put them together, we'll create a unique quarter, because remember, a quarter has any tile with two buildings on it. So I want to make sure I'm not building one of these on a tile with an ageless building, because then I can't really add the second one. In this case, though, I can just purchase the building. I can put it on top of the other building here, place the Casa de Contratación here to complete the plaza, and that would work, and we would have our unique quarter. You can see here I can overbuild the blacksmith from the antiquity age. I can overbuild the barracks as well. They're kind of useless to us, just giving us their base adjacency. But you might be wondering, Phoebe, what happens if you build it on top of a rural tile? What if I take this and make it an urban tile from a rural tile? Well, I'll get that population back to spend elsewhere. So if I get rid of this woodcutter and I create an urban district, I put a building down on it, I'm able to grow the city again. That population that was working that job now needs somewhere else to work. So I can then add it to a mine, or another woodcutter over here, or another woodcutter over here. So it doesn't directly replace the tile if the tile was particularly good, but you do get that population back to spend somewhere else. You don't just lose it entirely. As you collect resources throughout the game, you might be wondering how they are used. So I just want to briefly go over this so you at least understand what you're looking at. There are three kind of overall types of resources that are the most common. We have city resources that will tell you what their effect is. I can't go over each resource and its effect right now, but it'll let you know, right? The city resources can only be put in cities. Very simple. If I try and place this in a town, it won't work. If I try and place it in a city, it will work. The amount of spaces you have for resources in your cities and towns is defined by a whole variety of factors. You'll get some from buildings, you'll get some from policies, etc., etc. So as you're playing through the game, be on the lookout for items or buildings or whatever that give you more resource slots in those settlements. Bonus resources can be placed in either a town or a city, so you can use it for an effect in a city or for an effect in the town. You can place multiple of the same resource in a town or a city as long as it's eligible. So you'll see here, I have 3 jade to really maximize the gold in Roma. It's not helping too much. We still don't have a lot of gold. But you can multiply, you can add multiple of the same city resource into a city. Now finally, and this was confusing for me, you might be gaining some resources and finding that they disappear. That's because they're coming to the Empire resources at the top. Empire resources are stacked on top of each other. They do not need a slot, and they automatically apply to your entire empire. Many of these are strategic resources, like these horses are going to give +1 combat strength to infantry and ranged units or whatever it is. So as I collect more horses, each one will be +1. If I come here and get gold, it'll be 20% towards purchasing buildings. That's very powerful. If I get this, it'll be 20. If I get another one, it's an additional 20. If I get another one, it's an additional 20. So you want to stack these up. Again, they don't need a slot, so you can collect them from anywhere and they will just go to your whole empire. Right? Same with marble, 10% towards constructing wonders. So we want to stack a couple of those for more wonder construction. Those are your empire resources, and they're very powerful. There are 2 main ways you'll collect resources, not the only 2 ways, but main ways are building them yourself. Your city's going to grow. We took a look at that. You literally grow on top of a resource. Boom, you have that resource. If it's an empire resource, it goes to your empire. If it's not, it goes to a town or a city, and you can just reassign it from there. You might also gain your resources from trade. So in each age, there will be a civic that unlocks a merchant unit. In this age, it's here in economics. You'll see this little symbol here. Be on the lookout for it, whichever age you are in. Once you unlock the merchant unit, you can spend 1 merchant unit per civilization in the game. You have Amina, you have Tecumseh, you have Machiavelli. I can send 1 merchant to whichever one of their cities I would like, and I can trade with them. It will give them gold, and it will give me a copy of the resources they have in their city. Right now I have a merchant in Tabai that will take up my 1 trade route slot with Machiavelli, it'll give him gold, it'll give me the wine. You can increase your trade route slots with diplomacy. If I want to send a second trade route to Machiavelli, I can come in here and improve trade relations for 120. He's going to accept that, which is awesome. And then if I come back to this merchant, it'll be 0 of 2 now because I've unlocked a second option, so I can send 2 different merchants to each one of his cities. When you select make a trade route, it will automatically kind of connect. It'll turn itself into a trade unit and connect it to your empire. So we'll go here, make a trade route. It'll connect, it'll change into a trade caravan. This caravan or boat or whatever it turns into acts like a trade unit from previous Civ games. It can be plundered, it can be pillaged, so you got to look out for it, be careful. But if we come to our resources now, we'll see we are now collecting that wine. It's giving us 3 happiness in the capital and 10% culture during a celebration. The last thing I want to show off is that the resources change with each age. As you go through the ages, you might see you have silk that has a different effect in each age. If you see in the antiquity age, it gives you plus 10% culture. In the modern age here, it's giving you 6 culture in the capital and 3 culture to any other city. So if you have similar resources that are exactly the same, their abilities might change depending on the age you are in. If you come to your empire resources, as you go through, each age will unlock new ones. We don't have any oil in the antiquity age, that's only available in the modern age, and the types of resources available might change as well. You'll see we have factory resources here that go inside of factories that we didn't have before. I hope you enjoyed that video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope your first couple games of Civilization 7 are going well. If you did, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let me know in the comments below what the next thing you'd like me to do a tutorial video on is. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, we will see you in the next one.